Greetings all! Today we will be examining the uncommon water bug type Pokemon Dewpider and its rare evolution Araquanid, collectively known as the Water Bubble Pokémon. Though they might look frail from afar, the members of the Dewpider family are sturdy beasts that can take hits well and dish out some aquatic retaliation that is sure to leave a mark on those that go up against them. Dewpider walk along the ground on two pairs of thin green legs with a small bulbous black abdomen that has a slight point on the end. Their head is a pair of bright blue eyes with a trio of blue pointed dome-like structures on the top of their head, with a rounded green mouth and a double pair of green leg-like appendages that they use to contain a large water bubble that they keep around their head at all times. The evolved form Araquanid have a series of 6 legs with green bases and black tips, with a bubble of water at each connecting mid-joint, the spike on their abdomen having turned green and a brown line pattern appearing on their abdomen's top side. They have eyes with a squiggly pupil that covers their whole form, and the water bubble around their head has grown in size as they have developed a series of sharp mandibles that they can use to deliver potent biting attacks within close quarters. Dewpider and their evolved form Araquanid are different from most bug-type Pokemon in that they generally prefer to live in the water over the land, as the respiratory system is much more like that of a fish than of a traditional insect, with gills instead of a functioning pair of lungs, and thus hunt and work better in the water. While they can still breathe through their exoskeleton to some minor extent, this is only helpful to them if the relative humidity is high, meaning that these creatures need a way to breathe that still allows them to function normally no matter what environment they live in. To correct for this issue, these creatures generate and maintain a bubble of water from the posterior and encase their heads in it at all times, created by gathering humidity in the air or extracting the needed material from a body of water and forming it around their head, encasing it in a thin film of an oil-like substance that maintains a sphere of water around their head. As a result of this, these creatures are generally only found among freshwater ponds and the surrounding land, so there is a ready supply of water to draw from if the air is relatively dry. This can make these creatures somewhat difficult to work with in certain circumstances, but seeing as it is the only way they can protect their relatively soft heads, it works for them and additionally serves as a status symbol of age and power, as these creatures will often compare the size of their water bubble to each other when they cross paths in order to see who's the largest. The individual with the smaller bubble always yields to the larger one, getting out of their way and allowing them to pass with no quarrels. As far as their abilities go, this bubble grants them the unique Water Bubble ability as a base ability, which helps reduce the damage from fire-type attacks, makes them immune to being burned, and doubles the damaging power of their water-type attacks. It is noted though, that some may be gifted in being able to use water to heal damage to their forms, and can thus have Water Absorb instead as a hidden ability. In looking at their stats, in the case of Araquanid, it can be seen that their offensive power is quite lacking, and they are unable to move their large frames very quickly as a result of the weight of the water bubble on their head slowing them down. But they still at least have decent stamina to them for an insectoid, and the bubble in combination with their surprisingly sturdy exoskeleton grants them superb defenses that can make them hard to damage, especially with special attacks. As such, their base HP stat is barely above average for fully evolved bug-type Pokemon, and the base defense and special defense stats are above average for fully evolved water and bug-type Pokemon, and they can easily prove to be devastating special walls to try and get past, even with super effective attacks at one's disposal. In the wild, Dewpider might not be very strong, but they can still prove to be effective hunters if the conditions are right. Although they are considered to be water types, these creatures do not learn much in the way of water type attacks at a young age, relying mainly on water gun and bubble beam attacks in order to take down their opposition. To make up for this, these creatures gain access to some decent bug-type moves as well, and have a unique way of stunning their prey and enemies in combat. In close quarters, these creatures will generally rely on moves like Infestation to irritate the opposition and distract them, and when the target is left distracted, these insectoids will rush up and deliver a massive headbutt with their bubble-covered head, delivering a smashing impact as the water bubble forcefully bursts, oftentimes knocking the target out cold if they're only a little bit larger than Dewpider at most. This seems to work quite well for them against smaller prey, as it allows them to freely use their sharp mandibles to then rip hunks of flesh off of their prey and drain fluid from its body before escaping. This usually is not too much of a problem though, as their mouth parts are fairly small in this state, and they thus cannot deal much in the way of damage. Even so, they can leave nasty marks behind, and therefore should be eliminated quickly if possible, particularly by attacking their head before they can reform their protective water bubble. As with Dewpider, Araquanid mainly rely on the water bubble that covers their head as a form of offense when hunting prey and taking out enemies in battle. Unlike Dewpider though, these creatures have access to a stronger variety of attacks and access to a wide guard technique with a bit of artificial help. possess piping in their bodies that allows them to redirect the water in the bubble surrounding their head into their limbs to launch water-type projectile attacks with more of a high-pressure impact, drowning their prey from afar so they may snack on them at their leisure, and can even turn the headbutt move into a potent liquidation attack later in life, so they pose a much greater threat in battle. Moreover, because of their larger size and therefore a larger surrounding bubble, in conjunction with their habit of storing things in their water bubble for later use or consumption if their belly is full, it has been observed that smaller animals might become completely encapsulated in their head bubble and drown in there, making for an easy meal in the process. Despite this, Araquanid generally only come onto land to hunt, preferring to pass their spare time in the water, and are actually incredibly caring and more of a help to weakened Pokemon than a threat. If these creatures come across a weak, vulnerable Pokemon, they will often partially submerge them in their water bubble for protection and carry them around in it until they can find a place to safely deposit their cargo and make sure that they are in the company of other life forms that would take care of them. This same behavior can be seen in taking care of their own kind, as these creatures will often help young Dewpider get their head in their bubbles and even feed leftover scraps to them. The combination between this caring and honorable nature and the beast's potentially devastating power helps to explain why an Araquanid serves as the current totem Pokemon at Brooklet Hill of Akala Island in the Alola region, dwelling in the ponds of the area in waiting to challenge trainers that wish to pass the water-type trial. Creepy to just look at, and more than capable of making themselves into fierce foes when needed, the members of the Dewpider family are unique arachnoids that can make good use of their powers late in life to make themselves into powerful walls that can fight back with decent gusto. It may take a while for them to get access to the best offenses, but the wait can be more than worth it once you see what their nasty forms are able to do both up close and afar. Just do yourself a favor and make sure to give these critters a wide berth if you get in their way. Otherwise, you may find yourself on the receiving end of a potent headbutt before meeting a watery end inside the almost literal confines of their headspace. Thank you all for watching this video. It is always an honor to be able to speak with you all on the subject of Pokemon in a way that brings me great joy and happiness in my work. If you would like to keep tabs on past and future work, click that subscribe button, check out my work on DeviantArt, and don't be shy about following me on Twitter, where you can find pertinent announcements on upcoming work before it is officially posted. Links to both can be found in the video description. If you would like to support my work and help Miguel and I continue to produce more content for you and improve upon our presentation, please visit us at my Patreon page, which you can also find a link to in the video description. With that, I thank you for watching and I wish you well.